what's going on today. It's basically supposed to be the day where they banned, I guess, all those Chinese apps in the US, like the TikTok and WeChat, for fear of things like security concerns. Although things didn't really work, I guess, with what you would think, based on this anyways. It seems TikTok basically has an agreement to sell parts of the company, I guess, to US operations. Like this one here in their release, it says, "We are pleased that a proposal by TikTok, Oracle, and Walmart will resolve the security concerns of the US administration and settle questions around TikTok's future in the US. As part of this proposal, Oracle will become our trusted technology provider, responsible for hosting all US user data and securing associated computer systems to ensure US national security requirements are fully satisfied." And for Walmart, it just says, "We are currently working with Walmart on commercial partnerships as well. Both companies will take part in a TikTok global pre-IPO financing round in which they can take up to a 20% cumulative stake in the company. We will also maintain and expand TikTok Global's headquarters in the US while bringing 25,000 jobs across the country." To my understanding, it still has to be approved by China. Like they actually have to say, okay, we agree with this purchase. Although reading this, like even though this person wrote here says, so the ownership of TikTok Global will be, according to a person familiar with the matter, Oracle 12.5%, Walmart 7.5%, and ByteDance 80%, which is essentially the Chinese parent company of TikTok. But 40% of ByteDance's ownership is US venture capital funding. That's how the Trump admin is calculating this deal as majority US dollars. Yeah, so how does that make sense? Because to my understanding before, the stipulation was they have to sell the operations to the US, pretty much, like in order to run here, period. Whereas this, it doesn't really change much, other than it's kind of like they have a partner in the US. I mean, in the end, was it all about politics, money, or is it more about security? Because from the security end, again, it doesn't really make sense overall. They plan to ban WeChat too, and for those who don't know, it's basically a huge messenger program in China. They use it pretty much for everything. People to communicate with each other, make transactions and payments, but you better be careful, like it's not an understatement. This thing is like monitored like crazy. Say something bad, well, that's it, you're done. So yeah, so basically they went through with the ban in the US for this at least, but apparently it was blocked by a judge. This one says, "A US judge has blocked Trump's plan to ban WeChat. The ban against the Chinese-owned app was supposed to go into effect Sunday night." It says Northern California U.S. District Court issued a temporary injunction against Trump ban, citing free speech concerns in a case brought by WeChat users. WeChat users had argued the service is, quote, "a public square for Chinese American and Chinese-speaking community in the U.S. that is effectively their only means of communication with their community." Bila wrote in her judgment, the judge ruled shutting down that public square could violate WeChat users' rights. I'm not sure if this one will actually stand, because in some ways, unless I'm mistaken, wouldn't this be the argument of like any platform, let's just say things like YouTube, where people argue it's a public space and all that, people can write what they want and you're not allowed to, I guess, suppress whatever opinions and stuff they have, whereas the argument is no, they're a private corporation. Wouldn't that be the same thing here? It'd be interesting to see how it goes overall, but doesn't seem like it's working as planned for them, I guess, in terms of banning Chinese apps. I know in India it was pretty much, nope, you're gone, and it was done with, like with TikTok and everything. And I read this one is one of those, in my opinion, even I could have told you that. This one says, "Evidence suggests drones, a friendlier wild horse roundup option than helicopters. Feral populations of horses often roam ever extensive areas when it becomes necessary to confine them for management purposes. For a contraceptive treatment, for example, it becomes necessary to round them up. Current methods of trapping are based on chasing animals into a corralled area, often using helicopters. They investigated whether it would be possible to get free-roaming horses to follow a drone into a corral. This concept is based on the natural instinctive behavioral tendency of horses to become alert to intruders or novel objects and to respond as heard according to a level of sympathetic arousal evoked," they said. They used a consumer-grade quadcopter drone to lead the university's herd of 123 semi-feral ponies into corrals. Reporting their work in the Journal of Animals, they wrote, "The technique was successful on the first attempt as well as for 7 of the 9 additional attempts over a period of 4 weeks, repeatedly to the same as well as the different destinations. The pace of the following was primarily a fast walk with an occasional slow trot. Family integrity was maintained." I would have thought that would have been one of those common sense things, isn't it? Although it does make me think too, because with all the stories saying never use a drone around animals, it'll give you a heart attack. This kind of reminds me of that story, I believe it was somewhere in Europe, where normally they use dogs to herd things like cows. but eventually the cows got used to the dog. They're like, yeah, whatever, I'm not gonna pay attention to you, so they don't do anything. Then afterwards, I believe the farmer used a drone, then they started to walk away like in herds as before with the dog, which goes to show, in my opinion, once they get used to it, they'll just treat it like everything else. So I guess for now they can use the drone as a useful way to guide like the horses and stuff. I guess eventually, as I mentioned, in the future they'll just get used to it. One thing I noticed with the Mini now, that power button that you have to press twice to turn it on, it's basically worn out a bit because the button you have to press it so hard now for it to activate. Some wear and tear already. I expected something like this to wear out faster, honestly. Hasn't even been a year yet too. Would you get a replacement for that since it hasn't been a year? And just for, I guess, some reference in terms of how much I fly, because obviously I'm above average. According to this stats here, it says I flew it, what, 304 times for a total of 54.9 hours. Would you think that's good mileage for how much I'm flying it? Is it expected for, I think, to wear out like that button? I actually haven't had things like that wear out on the Mavic Pro, except for that arm, if you guys remember. And speaking of which, I still didn't even get the part yet to basically check on that gimbal and all that. Look how long it's been. Alright, see you guys later.